Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
This episode is brought to you by KPMG. At KPMG, innovation is the go-to state of mind. Their visionary thinkers and advanced technology help you see beyond the now, uncover new insights, and turn them into opportunities. KPMG can help you leverage the value of data and drive transformational outcomes through innovation. To explore their thinking, go to kpmg.us.
I tried to fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Hey everybody, welcome to a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. I am Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
And Rusty, I gotta apologize to you up front. This is the second recording of this episode. I guess I just didn't hit record. We went through the whole thing.
Yeah, we did. It's all good.
All right, we are doing season 1, episode 5. This is Luanne's Saga.
February 16th, 1997.
There you go. And I'm glad we redid it because I have been informed that the opening to this show, there is a cowbell.
And in the
no hollering.
Previous unrecording.
That's right. I said there
was
one.
no cowbell,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we got a little bit of cowbell. Not much, just enough to where you didn't catch it.
No, I didn't catch it. I guess I wasn't paying attention to either the record button or the cowbell. We start this episode. This one is truly all about Luanne, and we get introduced to Buckley, and we see how much of a family member Luanne really is to everybody.
Yeah, and we get to see like the dynamic that plays out throughout the entire series between her and Hank. Yeah, because they have their own kind of relationship, like which you kind of see it at the. I guess it was the first episode or second episode where she comes out and she says, "Oh, well, I'll help you with your truck or whatever," and she says,
right.
"Oh, it's this," and then she helps him with his truck, that kind of thing. So
yeah.
I think that's like the first hint of it, but this is like the first
this is the first where you see Hank like being her surrogate dad or whatever.
Yeah, you see him really like melding at this point. Yeah,
and he actually cares about her, and you can tell.
Yeah, he does the dad stuff, all the complaining and all that, but like deep down, he really cares.
Sure. Yeah, unlike my father. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So we start off this episode. We've got Luanne and Peg in the Peg-a-leg in the living room, and they are doing some jazzercise.
Yeah, just doing some light calisthenics.
Just 2 more. Come on. Okay, 5 more. 5 more. Hey, you said 2. You can't predict this tape. I've seen it long enough to know that.
Yeah,
says
they killed
Luanne.
Yeah. So she sat there and watched this tape and has exercised on this tape 100 times and still doesn't know what the routine is.
Right. That gives us a little insight as to Luanne's
ditziness,
yeah.
max headroom.
She's a little bit ditzy.
Yeah.
In comes Bobby. He is he's all worked up because his Game Boy's out of batteries and he needs to get to the Nintendo quick,
like a fiend. Like he's fiending for electronics.
It's like it's like he's got to go to the bathroom or something.
I gotta
know,
go
really
quick.
bad.
Yeah. He just runs in. I gotta go quick.
And so Bobby instead is waiting. They say, hang on, Bobby, and he joins in the in the jazzercise.
Oh, not only does he join in, he joins in full stride with like perfect like rhythm and movement.
That's right. And then in comes Hank. Hank, shut that off, Bobby. Stop dancing now.
Yeah, and then Luanne goes, what does he say? He says,
he says, shut that off, Bobby. Stop dancing now. And she goes, he's not just dancing. He's firming his thighs and tightening his buttocks.
Yeah, and then Hank looks at her and he's like, watch your mouth.
Watch your mouth. Luanne. Damn it. Look at this place. So now we get Hank had come inside because he wants to go into the spare bedroom and look at his stuff.
Yeah, looking at his stuff.
So apparently the spare bedroom is the place that Hank goes to just see all his things that aren't out anywhere else.
Well, that's what dens really are, I think, for men, is it's your teenage bedroom. It's whatever, like the last bedroom that you had when you left your parents' house, that's what a den is for a man. That where he could set up his things and his stuff and his items.
And he's griping because the sofa bed's in the out position. There's stuff everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a mess or anything, but it has to be his mess. It has to be his things where he has them and stuff like that. Because it's like when my old lady comes into my space and she's like, this looks like a shithole. And I said, well, it is a shithole, but it's an organized shithole. I know where everything I need is.
It's my shithole.
And she's like, well, do you have an HDMI cable? And I'm like, well, yeah, let me go look for one. And I can go straight to the box that's buried underneath 30 other boxes to where it's at, kind of thing.
Yeah, I have one of those. We closed in a garage several years back when the kids were still at the house, and that is my quote-unquote office, even though it has no real heat or cooling ability. There's a window unit, but there's no heat pump on it.
There's no heat pump, so
it's nice and cool in there.
Nice
this
and cool
morning.
in there. Yeah, I bet it was. It was icing last night. I could hear the ice.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. We go from like 70
We're in
degrees.
March.
Well, it was 70 degrees like 2 days ago.
Well,
almost 80. It was almost 80 2 days ago. Yeah.
All right. So Hank is upset because of all his stuff is everywhere. He can't find anything because it's not his mess. Luanne tries to help by showing him some of his stuff and saying, "Are you looking for this? Are you looking for this?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way." And then she shows him a tackle box, and he's like, "Well, maybe that needs reorganizing."
Yeah, that might need it. That might need a little organizing.
And Luanne goes into how, hey, Uncle Hank, don't worry. I'll be out of your hair soon. I think Buckley's going to ask me to move in with him. And this is really, I guess, one of the first. This is truly the first time we've met Buckley. We saw him in the previous episode where he's working at Megalomart.
Where he's screaming at him about you know where a hammer is?
That's right.
A damn hammer.
Tap and die.
Tap and die and some WD-40. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that should really concern people is that Luanne says about moving in with Buckley. Isn't it neat? I'm going to go from daddy to you to Buckley.
Yeah, it shows a lot of mental health problems for sure in that statement. A lot of dad issues for sure.
Yeah, and Hank responds with, "Yeah, it's an amazing journey, Luanne."
An amazing journey.
So, anyway, she shows him the thing, and he says, "Yeah, maybe I'll take that thing." But he's still upset about it. And so and then we get to
Buckley roaring up on the motorcycle.
Yeah. And the shout from the boys is, "Get a muffler."
Yeah, get a muffler, even though he does have a muffler. It's just a loud one.
It's just a loud one, right?
Yeah.
And then Luanne hops on the back of the bike, and they're going to take off, and the boys are saying something about how do you let her go out with that hairball? And Hank's like, "Well, she's not my daughter," and that sort of thing, even though she kind of is.
Yeah.
They only get about halfway down the street, and we see Luanne jump off the motorcycle and kind of yell at Buckley, and then come back, and she's bawling and crying.
Yeah, and then Peggy was standing there, and Hank goes, "Well, what the hell was that?" That was a breakup.
Yeah.
So
and one of my favorite parts of that is Boomhauer. It gets very uncomfortable for him. And so he's just like, dang old bird's flying low this time of year, man.
Dangle awkward. Dangle awkward, man.
That's right. That's right. And like you say, Peggy comes running up and she goes, hey, guess what was on sale? Oh, my Lord, you've been dumped.
Oh, so Lord, you've been
She knows
dumped.
immediately, what's going on. And so she starts comforting Luanne, tells her to tell Aunt Peggy all about it. Meanwhile, we are going to supper at the Hank Hill house.
Oh, yeah, and she's been slaving over this hot stove, whipping up,
fish sticks.
all-American meal, some
right.
fish sticks and probably some soggy
Macaroni
frozen
and cheese,
French fries
French
and some
fries.
macaroni
Yep,
and cheese.
yep.
Boxed macaroni and cheese.
That's right.
I
yeah.
hate boxed macaroni and cheese.
Do you?
Like fake cheese, period. I don't
Yeah.
really like American cheese, like processed cheese or Velveeta or anything like that. Whenever my wife makes macaroni, she makes it with real cheese.
Yeah. You know about the white cheese slices, right?
Yeah.
Like you see the yellow cheese slices and then the white cheese slices. The white cheese slices are never wrapped, which I don't understand.
Never
number
wrapped.
one.
Yeah.
And did you know those are the exact same cheese?
No, I didn't know that.
It's just coloring.
Oh, so yeah,
It's just coloring.
The highly processed cheese has the highly processed yellow number 32
That's it.
in it.
It's got yellow in it. That's it.
Probably
That's all
the
it is.
cancer in it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, we all got that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Peggy starts telling Hank about the healing process and how they've gotten past the first hump because she talked with her today, and there's only 7 more humps to go to get Luanne back to normal. And Hank is like, well, I need for you to fix her now. Because Hank is used to that kind of thing where if you got a problem, you solve it and you move on. And you can't necessarily do that with a crying girl.
No, you can't.
He says they're in bed, and he says to Peggy, without my quiet time, I can't be an effective propane salesman.
Which shows to how much he's dedicated to his job.
That's
again,
right.
That he's laying in bed and he's worried about being an effective propane salesman while he's laying in bed at home.
It's his purpose. It's his purpose for being on the planet.
It is. I think it's more purposeful for him than his actual family sometimes.
So I think you're right about that. He tells her again, you got to fix her. I can't go through 3 more weeks of this. If you don't fix her, I'm going to.
Yeah.
And Peg responds, telling him that he doesn't have the tools for the job.
Oh yeah, and then he goes, well, what's that supposed to mean or whatever? And then she goes, well, you remember when my aunt died? You kept grabbing me around the waist. Sorry, is saying let's wrestle.
Let's wrestle.
And he said, you told me it helped.
You told me it helped.
And she admits it does. So
I did?
I don't know,
well,
that's weird.
Yes, it did.
That's weird, yeah.
So she tells him, she's like, Hank, listen, if you want to help tomorrow, just tell Luanne she looks pretty.
That's it.
That's all you got to do.
3 words.
What's that got to do anything? She just needs to hear it from a man.
Yeah, 3 words, nothing more. Don't say anything else, Hank.
You look pretty. So then we see Hank the next day. He's watching one of his favorite TV shows.
Yeah, he's sitting there watching Make Steaks, or Make a Steak is what it's called.
Make a Steak.
Then they have the commercial come on, and it's let me talk about the steak thing first. So he's sitting there with the steaks, and it's like he's watching a football game or something, and he's like, well, Stu, which steak should I flip? Well, flip that one. And Hank's no, flip the other steak. Yeah.
I've got a small confession for you. I would watch that show.
I would watch that show, too. I'm sure that it's probably comedy gold.
I just want to watch a guy flipping steaks. So, we get to the commercial now. And I believe this is the first time we see the Megalomart representative in Chuck Mangione.
Yeah, Chuck Mangione, the illustrious flugelhorn.
Flugelhorn. Yeah, we
player.
had and you guys missed that last time when we didn't record it. we said another instrument, and then come to find out
it was a flugelhorn.
He's a flugelhorn player,
which is a variation of a trumpet and stuff like that.
Right.
But, so the fun fact is that Chuck Mangione's voice. Anytime you see Chuck Mangione in King of the Hill, it is his voice. He only has like 8 or 9 appearances, maybe more than that. But
he's got one
less than 20.
He's got one episode that's totally dedicated to him.
Yeah, he does.
Which
it's
is,
less than 20 episodes with him in it, but more than 10.
Yeah. So Chuck is on the commercial telling us all about Megalomart, and hawking the 12 5-pound bags of gourmet chocolates for only $10.
Yeah, that's a shit ton of chocolate.
That's a lot of chocolate for $10. And Luanne sees it, and of course she freaks out because that was Buckley's section.
Buckley's section.
Even though Buckley worked in hammers before.
Yeah, he worked in the Home Depot section. Yeah,
hardware. Yeah,
hardware.
She starts crying and crying. I was dumped. And Hank, remembering what Peggy says, you look pretty. Why aren't you saying everything? You look pretty.
Yeah, you look
he
pretty.
Just keeps repeating, you look pretty.
And then he didn't say nothing else. And then she asked Hank, she goes, well, why aren't you saying anything?
Yeah.
She said, well, I never liked Buckley. And then he talked about a greaser-headed dump by a loser and
That's
all
right.
that.
That's
and
right.
then he tells her, he goes, Luanne, sometimes life throws you a curveball. There's 2 ways you can deal with it. You can cry. That's the path you've chosen. Or you can not cry. And that's when he teaches her about eating her feelings. And that's, like I said, that was the unrecording from last time. That was what I had said was my favorite part about this show was the running gag that the show has of eating your feelings. And you can hear Hank gulping. And he tells her, every time you have a feeling, just stick it in a little pit inside your stomach and never let it out. And then she goes, are you supposed to have a pain underneath your rib, Hank?
Yes.
He goes, yes, that's natural. There you go.
Yeah. I think that's, and I don't know. I mean, I didn't grow up anywhere else. I grew up here. And so I would say that's a very Texas male kind of thing. You don't show emotion.
They don't show emotions, and most of them, when they do start showing their emotions, they're in their late 50s.
Yeah. He gives her an example, because she says, I feel sick but not sad, so he thinks it's working. He goes, I mean, look at my friend Bill. He went through the worst divorce in this county's history, and but you never see him crying. And
then he says it twice. He says, you never see him crying. And then you see his blinds closing, and you can hear him sobbing in his living room with no lights on. And it's like no lights on or nothing, just sobbing.
That's right. Yeah. He goes over the fact that Peggy told him, that it takes 3 weeks tops, and this sort of thing, and he's just honestly, this is as close as Hank comes to having a heart-to-heart with somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. At least what we've seen yet. And then it's really funny that she's talking about, she's talking all the crap about Buckley and stuff like that, and then she says. Another thing I hate about Buckley, he takes me to all-you-can-eat buffets and says I have to sneak off his plate just so I can get an iced tea.
That's right. But then he gets scared. And
she didn't even get to eat or share nothing. Right. She's just sitting there drinking iced tea. Yeah, he sounds like a real keeper.
I hate boys like that. Why do boys with braces always want a French kiss? So you get to the point where it's Hank and Luanne sitting there at the table and they're eating cookie dough. They're raw cookie dough out of the tube.
Like something she would do with a
with a girlfriend,
like a girlfriend or something like that. Yeah, and then Hank takes that role, which again shows. Actually, I think this right here really is more telling about their relationship than any activity that they've done so far yet. Is him being able to sit there with her and do all this like sisterly type activity. So I kind of think that's real indicative of the relationship that we'll see later on and how it builds.
Oh yeah, sure. So Hank is really impressed because he's never eaten the cookie dough raw like this. He tells her it's almost as good as ice cream, and Luanne tells him that they do make ice cream with raw cookie dough in it.
Yeah, and he looks surprised.
Damn, sister. Get me my keys. And so the next thing we get is they're coming back from the grocery store, and they're just laughing and cutting up and stuff, and they're having a great time. And Peggy meets her at the door and wants to know where she's been because they were supposed to be crying together all night.
Absolutely. And one thing that I appreciate here is that this is one of the few times where Peggy is actually right.
That's true.
And you think the whole time you're watching the episode that Hank is doing the right thing until you get to, we'll hit it in a minute. But I really like that because you really think that Peggy is this ditz, and she's not very bright, and
she
she's
comes
just
across as a know-it-all
kind of person,
but someone who doesn't know it all but thinks she does.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, she is the thrice running Spanish substitute teacher of the year.
Oh, absolutely. That's nothing to
got that going.
That's nothing to scoff at all.
So they get into it. Luanne goes to bed. And Peggy's talking to Hank about, my Lord, what did you do? And he goes into how he's fixing Luanne, and not that he's right or anything. He's just better at it because he's going to fix her like he fixes a carburetor.
Like fixing a carburetor.
That's right.
Tearing it down and rebuilding it back up. Yeah.
And you know what? It was fun.
Put a little WD-40 on it. It's good to go.
That's right. That's right. And that makes total sense because all the people I've known, like my dad, he definitely would rather fix a carburetor than fix a problem anywhere
else. I mean, that's it's akin to eating your feelings. you go out and fix a carburetor, and the carburetor is your feelings.
Right.
They put the feeling in emotion instead of expressing emotion to their family. They'll go out there and love that carburetor instead.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. So Peg explains to him how it's a natural process, and you can't manipulate it, you can't fast forward it, all of this sort of thing.
And then he starts being condescending to her.
He's just
starts
like,
being a little shithead.
You look pretty.
Yeah, just to get her to shut up. He used her own technique against her. Is what's funny.
That's
a technique that didn't work for Luanne, but it worked on Peg.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It definitely worked on Peg. She's, you've got to stop.
Yeah.
You look pretty, Peg. Oh, thank you. So the next thing we get is the whole crew. They're going, well, with the exception of Bobby. They're going out to a honky tonk.
Which actually, last time I said I didn't know what the name was, and I actually, if you look at my notes, these are the same notes. I actually did have it down. So it's called Ugly's Cowboy Saloon.
That's right.
Just like my handwriting.
Ugly's Cowboy Saloon. Yep. That's fantastic. So they're all pulling up in the parking lot. They're going to go in, and we find out that the purpose of this is for them to find Luanne a new boyfriend,
which is foreshadows again into who's right and who's wrong in this whole situation. We'll find out that Hank is kind of weird. I think this is like one of the weird things that Hank does out throughout the show. Mm-hmm. Him going in to go find a potential date for his niece.
It is weird.
That's kind of weird. It'd be like me going out if I had a niece and trying to find her a partner. Yeah. It's just odd kind of thing. It just feels really weird.
I think he's kind of doubling down on the fact that he's right.
I think that's what it is. It goes back to the carburetor. Like he's still tearing apart the carburetor at this point, and he's building it back up. That's how he sees it.
He's trying to show Peggy it's just this easy. Yeah. You just replace him with somebody else, and everything will be fine.
And it's done.
Yeah.
And then
and he is still trying to get Luanne out of his house.
Yeah, he's actively at this point. Yeah, I mean, still trying to get her out of the house.
He does love her, but he doesn't want her to be there. Which I can completely understand.
Yeah,
because my wife and I had 5 kids, and they got to get out.
Yeah, got to get them out quick.
I love them, but damn. So he talks about how he's just got to get that girl out of his den and that sort of thing. The girls are told to go ahead because he needs to help Bill close his jeans up. Because Bill is wearing jeans with an open fly, still wearing his wife beater. But he's got a cowboy hat.
Yeah, he's got he's got a leather cut on or whatever. But they say that seems like a pile of work just to get your den back. And he goes, "Well, it's not about my den. It's about that poor girl living in my den."
That's right. and then they start talking about, well, what's her type? What are we looking for?
Oh yeah, it's a scientific fact that women like round, muscular butts. I'm gonna look for a guy with a
Bill
round.
Bill says I'm gonna look for a man with a round, muscular butt. So they get in there and they split up and they start looking for somebody for Luanne. Now, Peggy does not know that this is the mission here.
No, she doesn't know what's going on. And then Bill is often used as a decoy for Peggy, and I'm not sure why they always use the decoy for Peggy.
I don't either, because Bill is in love with Peggy.
Yeah. And that alludes to what I was talking about in the unrecorded podcast about
it's going to follow me to my grave.
About the fan theories behind Bobby's existence.
Yeah.
Hank having the narrow urethra problem and all that stuff. Bill was
which we don't know yet.
Assumed.
We don't know that yet.
We don't know that yet.
No,
it's not known yet, I don't think. But that's so one of the fan theories is that Bill and Peggy had an affair, and that's how Bobby came about. And if you look at some of the tendencies that Bobby has, he kind of falls in line with some of the things that Bill does too.
He looks a lot more like
Bill.
Bill.
He looks more like Bill.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
then you see Cotton, Hank's dad, and then you could see the similarities between
you definitely
him
see Bobby and
in
Cotton.
Yeah,
or Cotton and Bobby, whichever.
Yeah, either.
So Bill is told to keep Peggy busy, and so that means he needs to dance with her, and he's more than happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
he says, "What?" He gets all like shy and coy, and he's like, "What? Me dancing? Me? I don't know. My arms around a warm. Okay." And then he runs, and he's like, "That's it." Yeah, took him about 2 seconds.
That's right. And then we go inside. We got Dale and what's his wife's name?
Nancy.
They are there, both of them for some reason. And here comes John Redcorn and asks if he can dance with Nancy.
Brings a beer, hands a beer to Dale.
Right.
And he says, "I'll give you a beer if I can dance with your wife," kind of thing. And sucker.
So then we see Hank talking to people, talking to guys, looking for somebody for Luanne. And then he talks about how if you go out with Luanne, she'll go Dutch.
Oh yeah, that was Boomhauer. Yeah. He goes up to
right.
it's
It was
Boomhauer. He
Boomhauer.
goes. He walks up to her and to ask her. He goes, "You go out with Luanne, she'll go Dutch. There'll be no other way." And then a woman walks up to him and whisks him away. Well, you smell nice. Dance with me, sugar. And he goes, "I tell you what, it's that dang old CK1 man, just like catnip."
CK1 man,
just like catnip.
It is just like catnip.
Which then I guess they've already showed the womanizing ways of Boomhauer at this point.
Yeah.
We've done seen Boomhauer running out of tent with a half naked woman at the Women event.
Oh yeah. We see Boomhauer. Yeah, as
definitely taking full stride in his ability to pull women for sure.
That's right. Yeah. So he goes off dancing, and then you now see Bill keeping Peggy busy by dancing. She's like, "Hey, what's Hank doing over there?" And he said, "No, don't worry about it." Starts spinning her, and then she wants to know why he spun her into Souvenir Gulch, which I just love that phrase, Souvenir Gulch. And he talks about how he can't remember all the steps and all that stuff. But anyway, he's keeping her busy.
Oh yeah, the step thing is funny too. One of the things that I didn't get to talk about in the last episode, which we might have to do this all the time because I feel like this episode is. I feel like this is a better recording than the last one.
Sure, yeah.
But she says on 3, brush right then, fan left then, scoop in, scrape the sky. When she's sitting there doing all the steps and calling about, it made me laugh. It reminds me of back in like middle school whenever you were learning how to line dance and they'd have the radio playing and it just was some corny redneck white woman screaming out like stuff to do and do-si, do and twist your partner.
Throw it in the wall. Yeah. So we're back to Hank and he thinks he's found him somebody. For Luanne. Ask him his name. The guy says, "Wade, sir." So, right away, Hank likes him because he's being respectful. He's got all the I'm
the appearances. So what you when you see this guy, he's got on a 10-gallon hat. Yep. He's got on the Texas flag button-up shirt. I mean, he's
brush
just
popper.
Quintessential. Yeah, brush popper. There you go. He's just a quintessential young Texas male.
And the best thing is he's got a big belt buckle.
Big belt buckle. Enough to where Hank notices it. That's one of the things. I'm sure that's the first thing Hank saw was the big old belt buckle, and that's what he tells you. That's some belt buckle. That's some buckle you got there. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's enough for Hank.
Means a lot coming from a man like you. I can plainly see you knows a thing or two about buckles.
I'm assuming he has a round, muscular butt. Right?
Yeah.
We find out he was a quarterback.
Yeah, well, it's funny because they pan back to Peggy, and she's like, and grapevine, left, pitch right, fan, double dog down. Get your kick now, slap that heel toe. And then it goes back to Hank again. And
quarterback, huh?
Yeah, talking about quarterback. And he goes, you love your mama. And
you know I do.
She cooked with a grass range.
Propane.
He goes, I don't know if I'm ready, Uncle Hank.
Yeah, she doesn't know if she's ready to go out with somebody else, Luanne, and Hank, now enamored with Wade, says, well, yeah, sure you are. And Wade's a catch and a half. He can run the 40 in under 5 seconds, which, is very important to any relationship.
Looking to start a business? You'll need a registered agent to receive legal notices and documents on your behalf. Look no further than Universal Registered Agents. Our team of professionals will ensure you never miss an important document, and we can even help you form your business with services like entity formation and document filing. Plus, we'll help you switch to our service for a lower cost and pay the change fees. Trust Universal Registered Agents to help your business succeed. Contact us today to learn more.
From the host of the popular podcast, The Only One in the Room, Stash by Laura Cathcart-Robbins is a propulsive and vivid memoir about the journey to sobriety and self-love amidst addiction, privilege, racism, and self-sabotage. Best-selling author Holly Whitaker calls it an irresistibly delicious story, and MacArthur Foundation fellow and best-selling author Kiese Lehman says Stash is emotionally riveting. Buy Stash by Laura Cathcart-Robbins now, wherever books are sold.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Oh yeah, very. You want a man that could sprint faster than anybody else for sure.
And Luanne's still upset about it. She doesn't know if her heart's ready, and Hank goes through the.
I think a man like Wade probably sprints towards danger, not away from it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wade is, I'm sure Wade's a catch and a half. Yeah. But she doesn't know if she's ready. She says her heart's telling me, and he stops her and says, your heart's telling you what? You're the boss here, not your heart. And so they go through that whole thing. Your heart is your employee. Get your heart off its butt and get it back to work. And so she goes, she takes the advice, and she goes over to Wade. And then they talk about how she's found her person, she's done, and so now they just go back to dancing.
Yeah, and then it goes back to Peggy and Bill again, which we did. This is another thing that we didn't talk about in the last unrecording. So she goes, well, Bill,
get a shirt that says unrecording.
Unrecording. You should. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
But she said, Bill, you need more confidence in yourself. She goes, if you ask Peggy Hill, you boot scoop with the best of them. And he goes, I don't know. All right. And then you hear the announcer go, well, this one's going to be the ladies' choice. And then this is when Hank steps in. And this was funny, too. This one I thought was hilarious. She goes, better than aerobics, huh? You worked up quite a sweat, Hank said to her. And she goes, that's not my sweat.
Not my sweat.
And then they go off
that's
and they dance away.
Yeah, she just covered in Bill's sweat. That's lovely.
Yeah.
So she asked about Luanne. He says Luanne's fine. She's gonna
hold on a second. So that for me, like, we'll go back to the fan theory real quick. So
that does,
the
I
fact
guess,
that
feed
she
into
has
it,
his sweat all over him and it does not bother her in any way, shape, or form. That right there is another tell, I feel like. I'm going to talk about this as we go on through the series.
See, I think Peggy being the tomboy that she is, it just doesn't bother her.
Just doesn't bother because she's a tomboy. Yeah, that's another possibility.
I really don't want to think about her and Bill together.
Nah, I don't, but we're going to explore it.
All right,
yeah,
okay,
we're going to explore it.
Got to rip that Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
So he tells her she's going to get a ride home with a friend, blah, 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 blah. And then they go on to dance. And then we're back at the house, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, we're back at the house.
Yeah. So there we go. It's a nice. And we'll be right back after this commercial message. All right, so we are back at the house, and Buckley comes zipping up onto the yard, and he's got a heart-shaped box of chocolates with him.
Yep, just for him, though.
Yeah, he said, they better be for me. No, they're for me later. So he's asking about Luanne. Hank tells him that she's off with her new boyfriend. She's in love. You blew it, diphead. You can't compete with this new guy. He's a football player, and football players know how to treat women right.
Yeah. And then she goes, well, you broke the rebound rule and all that, and, well, what's gotten into you, Hank? And then he goes, well, I was hoping she would fall in love with Wade. And she goes, well, hoping one hand and poop in the other, and tell me which one fills up faster.
You're out of your depth, Hank Hill. You've opened a Pandora's box, a box that has a sign that reads for women only. As long as it took that river to carve the Grand Canyon is how long women have been learning to subtly manipulate relationships. You only think it's easy because we make it look easy.
Yeah, and then she says, do you think you could just step in and fix it overnight? Could you really be that big of a fool? She said, woe is you, Hank. Woe is you.
Yeah. Hank is assumedly thinking that everything's going to be fine, that Wade's a good guy. He runs fast. Again, that's brought up that he runs fast. So as they're talking about this, a car pulls up, and it's like a Camaro.
Yeah.
And they see that Luanne's getting
Dodge.
out of it.
It would be a Charger.
Oh, a Charger. Yeah,
Charger.
Yeah. So they see that she's getting out of it.
Or Challenger.
Yeah, could be either one. I think it's a Charger probably. And then they figure out that it's Boomhauer.
Yeah. They look at the car and they're like, "Oh, well, dang, old Wade's got his car dressed up just like just like Boomhauer's."
Yeah, and then so they go out to confront him because this is Hank's worst nightmare. He sees her getting out of Boomhauer's car, and he's like, thank goodness Boomhauer gave me a lift. A lift? Is that what they're calling it these days? You can't trust this guy.
Yeah, he said he's a no-good, immoral, skirt-chasing rascal, which
is terrible.
Right in front of Boomhauer.
Yeah.
It's like one of his best friends, and that's a theme that you see throughout it. They all kind of, like, Hank kind of is kind of pissed off, I guess, at each one of them or whatever. He kind of has his own battle with each one.
I mean, it's okay for him to hang around with them, but not anybody else. Apparently.
Yeah.
So if you, at least you like him more than Buckley, though. I mean, I guess that's a thing. So Hank is not having this.
No, he's not. And they have like this back and forth where she tells him he can't tell her what to do. You're not my dad. And he goes,
damn straight I'm not.
Damn straight I'm not.
That's
and
right.
then he says, but while you're underneath my roof, I'm your landlord and I forbid you to date him. Which is funny because what the hell? Your landlord can't tell you who you can't be in a relationship with.
That's right.
But
That's right.
I thought that was pretty funny. And then she goes, well, I'll find another roof. I'll stay with Boomhauer. And then Boomhauer chimed, well, that ain't going to work out.
Hey.
These little old gals coming around here flat out no, man.
flat out no, man. Thanks, Boomhauer.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is about Boomhauer that I find so funny is that he'll say these things and, you know, we as the audience catch a bunch of it.
Yeah, especially with like he told the park ranger about the crane.
That's right.
And he told him everything he needed to know, but nobody could ever catch
But the
it.
people of Arlen, they don't understand what he's saying
Well,
at
and that's
all.
the thing is that's funny is that Hank is the one that's supposed to understand everything that he's saying, and it's like he picks and chooses when he can understand him. So this particular time right here, Hank doesn't catch what he says, you know, because
nobody
Boomhauer
catches what he
up.
says. Yeah. So she says, I'm going to find another roof. She's going to go to Boomhauer's thing. And one of my favorites is Boomhauer. Dang old women from Mars, man. I tell you what.
Flat ass no.
So they are very upset at each other now. They are Hank and Luanne. And she's going to go over there. He's gonna go back in.
Yeah, but one part I liked about this part is it was a real dramatic scene for Hank where he's like, "Don't go in there." He's like screaming at her, "You'll be sorry, damn it."
And I love the fact that again, it's only a few steps from Hank's house. You know, everything's just like right around the corner.
Right around the corner. And then this part right here is pretty funny because you see it's Dale standing on the front porch in a robe with a cigarette in his hand, and he said, well, damn, this neighborhood's turning into Melrose Place. But as soon as he turns around and walks in the door, Redcorn is climbing out the window.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so we go back into Hank's house, and Hank is muttering and puttering around in that extra bedroom that Luanne was in. And Peggy comes in and asks him about it. He says he's making room for his leaf blower. She knows that it's not about the leaf blower, though. He's just pissed off and upset and worried about Luanne.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that thing that I kind of remember this when I was a kid, when I was younger. You know, when I first left the house, my mom and dad, they'd be like, oh, yeah, sometimes we just walk to your room and just stand there wondering where you're doing and where you was at. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Yeah, so you could have just called me and asked me, but I guess it's like a parent thing. So that's what I took from this is it shows really how much he actually cares.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that he goes to the room at all.
Sure.
Because he didn't have no business going in there at midnight. He could have just went to his room and went to bed, but he goes to the garage, grabs a leaf blower out of the garage, and then walks all the way into the den to put the leaf blower in the den. Like, who puts a leaf blower in the den at that?
Nobody.
You know, nobody.
And you know, Peggy's talking to him about it, and she's like, this isn't about the leaf blower, is it? And she asks him what he's eating. And again, he's swallowing his feelings.
Yeah, just gulping them down.
He's eating and swallowing his feelings. She says that, you tried to fix her like you did a flywheel, and flywheels don't talk back.
Yeah, flywheels don't have feelings.
Yeah. He said, I took her in, Peg. I put a 20-year roof over her head.
20-year roof.
And a sofa sleeper under the rest of her. And this is the thanks I get? Well, no thanks. And so Peggy, again, I told you so, Hank.
Yeah, that's
basically.
what it is. It's just an I told you so. She goes, well, you're upset because you actually care. Yeah.
And he's like, nah, the only thing I care about is getting my den back.
Yeah.
And that's not true. We can see it. And so we go to we see Luanne in Boomhauer's place, and obviously Boomhauer's got her on the couch because he doesn't want anything happening.
No, because that's he was just giving her a ride home, and everything got taken out of context because he is a womanizer. So Hank automatically assumes that he's going to womanize Luanne or whatever, but he didn't, and he was really respectful. He brought her home. She kissed him on the cheek.
Yeah. Yeah, so, definitely. She initiated that.
I just want to make it clear that Boomhauer is a man of character.
He really is.
Out of all the four, I feel like even sometimes he has a stronger character than even Hank sometimes.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boomhauer. I feel like Boomhauer is one of those guys that has like three things to live by or whatever, and he just never crosses those things.
Yeah. He's got that hard line of principles, and he never crosses it no matter what. Whereas the other guys will kind of just go up and down with how their morality works.
Dale, I guess, is on the extreme spectrum of being a terrible person.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And then, like you say, I think Boomhauer is the tip top, and then comes Hank, and then comes Bill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think Boomhauer is probably the top as far as like morality and things, it seems like sometimes.
So the next day, we see, which I guess is a regular occurrence. I don't know that we see it again, but they are divvying up the last case of beer because they're all going to go stand in the alleyway and drink. And they figure out that it's going to be uneven because you can't divvy up
6 beers to 4 people evenly.
That's right.
And that kind of killed me, the joke on that one. Let's just split that 6-pack up. We can each take 2. So who's not drinking who's missing out on a second beer is what I want to know.
Yeah, sure. And then they talk about splitting it up, and he says, well, that cradle robber's getting none of my beer.
Yeah.
So we go back to now we got Peggy and Bobby doing the exercises in front of the TV.
Yeah, and then he says, let's try a move of my own. And then he goes, and split kick right and back and split kick left and sideways shuffle.
It's a little bit of a callback to Peggy,
doing
the thing. Yeah. So Bobby laments that it's just not the same without Luanne.
Yeah, it's not the same without
Luanne.
Luanne.
Just can't do it there.
Yeah.
So they just want to get out of the house for a little bit.
Boom. Yeah, we're at the restaurant now.
Yeah, now we're at the restaurant, and so now it's a family outing.
What is it? What's the restaurant name?
Luli's.
Luli's, which for those of you who have never experienced the delightful food that you could get, the amazing deliciousness of Luby's, that would be what this is. So Luby's is a cafeteria-style diner where you go in, you have your tray, you point at what you want on your plate, and then that's it kind of thing.
At one time in this city, I believe we had 3 Luby's and 2 Piccadillys.
Oh, wow.
And Piccadilly...
There's a lot of Luby's and Piccadillys.
Yes. Piccadilly was basically the same as Luby's. It's just another brand. I
think it's a very Caucasian place to eat.
Oh, yeah.
Cafeteria food.
Well, it's very after church kind of, grandpa, grandma, kids, all that stuff.
Yeah,
they all go and they can pick out whatever they want. That's always the appeal. Pick out whatever you want. Well... That's not really true because it's limited to like 4 entrees.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're getting the fried chicken, you're getting the
meatloaf,
and
Salisbury steak.
You're right. Now, at Luby's, there was a special dish called a Tampico steak.
Oh, wow.
I remember going with my grandfather and grandmother a lot, and that's all my grandfather would get. He'd get the Tampico steak. All it is a piece of, I don't know. I don't even know what that meat is, but it's a tougher cut of meat that's been pounded out, right? And they cook it like they would a steak, which means this thing cooks in probably 2 seconds. Yeah. And then they put cheese and onions across the top of it. So that was a Tampico steak. Yeah, that was his favorite.
No seasoning, just cheese and onions.
I don't know.
Well, that's the thing that anytime I've ever eaten Luby's, the food is just you might as well have a pocket full of Tabasco sauce and seasoning. Take some serendipity or something.
Well, it's like eating at an old folks' home or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like Aramark food.
Yeah, it is very much like
Aramark food.
Yeah, you're right about that. But Hank, being Hank, tells Bobby about how he can get whatever he wants, that they have 8 kinds of ketchup here and 3 kinds of catsup.
Yeah, that blew my mind, too. I didn't know there was that many different types of ketchup. I kind of, we're going grocery shopping later, and I'm going to go and see how many varieties, not brands, but varieties of ketchup. And we talked about it last time in the early 2000s when they were having all this wacky food craze where they had like the
green ketchup, purple ketchup,
and,
all that stuff,
colored mustard or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess because it's made out of tomatoes, that's why they make it red. I don't know. But anyway, they see Luanne and Boomhauer there after Hank orders his fried chicken plate of fried chicken, French fries, and some fried okra.
Yep.
Next episode, we'll learn that this diet is not so good for Hank.
It's not good at all for Hank.
But they see that, and Peggy's the first one to point it out as being a nice surprise, seeing them there. And, of course, Hank doesn't pay any attention, just asks about the gravy being lumpy tonight or not.
Yeah. And then he asks for white gravy and brown gravy.
I'll take a bowl of white gravy and a bowl of brown gravy. Yeah, and then Bobby wants to point out the fact that it's Luanne, too, and it's just – he just wants no part of it. You know, he just wants to, again, swallow his feelings, move on, eat his chicken fried steak, and go on about his
and
business.
be done with it. Yeah.
But he does finally have to acknowledge it, and
he tells Hank, he goes, I don't know what you're thinking, but you got to know I'm no Woody Allen with that soon Lee. Nothing's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Boomhauer talking about how he's not Woody Allen with soon Lee.
Yeah, which for those of you who don't know, Woody Allen married his, what was it, his adopted daughter? It was like his stepdaughter or something.
I don't know,
it was a really freaky situation.
I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
But we get the back and forth with Hank and Luanne. Hank tells her that her stuff's all boxed up. She needs to come by and get it. She says, well, I hope you're happy. You're going to get your den back. And then she starts crying again.
Yeah, and he says, don't uncle me anymore. I like that line. I thought that was funny. She goes, Uncle Hank, don't uncle me anymore. I remember my dad doing that whenever you get in trouble. He'd be like, Daddy, don't daddy me. Don't daddy me.
Yeah, they kind of have a blowout there, and it's sad because she's crying again, and she gets up from the table at with Boomhauer and goes off crying, and Hank notices and says, well, I guess she got dumped by Boomhauer, and Peggy tells him, no, she didn't get dumped by Boomhauer, she got dumped by you. Yeah, and that's just, it's one of those things, you know. He finally goes, I think internally, Hank finally goes, okay, that's enough. I see, you know, I'm doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. He knows he's messed up in a way.
Yeah. But Luanne shows up to get her stuff, and he tells her it's all in there and says that he's been moving some stuff around. It seems like the room looks a little better this way. The bed's out and the whole thing. And so he has basically straightened up that whole room and made it so that Luanne could come back. And
yeah, he put it back together for her and everything. And then he tells her, you could leave the fold-out bed out, and stay a while kind of thing. Kick your shoes off. Yeah.
It's not worth packing it up night after night, all that stuff. And finally, Luanne breaks down and tells Uncle Hank that she loves him. And, of course, Hank wants none of that.
None of that. No, he would rather gulp that down and put it in a pit in his stomach.
Yeah. And then the last thing is we get back out to the alley.
And then you got like the three guys standing there, and you have Boomhauer kind of set off in the distance, just watching them stand there and drink, which I thought was really funny that he's kind of standing there with his hands in his pockets like, you guys gonna ever say, come drink a beer? Or so then
and so he finally says, hey, Boomhauer, you want a beer? And he said, yeah. And then from the last line of the thing is Bill saying, that was beautiful.
Yeah, and then you hear all of them collectively start gulping down their feelings, and I thought that's like I said, that was why that was my favorite gag of the whole show. Yeah. Was
it ran throughout the entirety of the show.
The whole show, and then at the very end, the last scene is all of them eating their emotions.
This episode is still one of those where we're learning about the characters and we're learning about their relationships, and I really like this episode just simply because. We figure out who Luanne is.
It's a good episode for character development.
Yeah, it really is. It's as silly as it is and stuff. It does develop these characters and make them these staples for you, so that later on the big jokes build by you knowing these people.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what you'll see later on. Especially you'll see all these fleshed out characters, and it makes more sense. When you know the smaller stuff, like these little interactions between her and Hank, like this particular episode, it gives you a better insight into their relationship later on for sure. Because they have a lot of contention back and forth, and it's mainly due to her choice in men kind of thing. Because Hank, you got to be an honorable, hardworking, and she usually gets with there's actually a scene in this episode where he's talking about what type of guy that she likes, and it cuts. And it shows this dude in a black flag shirt beating his head against a tree. I was like, wow. I mean, I listened to those bands, but I never was banging my head against a tree.
Well, you gotta figure that's Hank's version of who these people are.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
which Buckley is like a.
Buckley is
like
the
a burnout
least of that.
Yeah, he's not like a punk rocker beating his head into a deal. He reminds me of somebody who's just constantly baked.
Yeah, I think
he's just stoned 24/7.
I think Buckley is pretty stoned, and he enjoys his motorcycle, and that's about it.
Yeah, and I don't think
Buckley's real deep.
I don't think he's real deep, and I don't think he's really like malicious to Luanne in their relationship. I think he's just like
he's not malicious. He's just like a 20-something-year-old kid who's still selfish and wants a pretty girlfriend and all that stuff.
Just a burnout.
But yeah, he's just a burnout, and he cares more about his friends than he does a relationship and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then I think like with the chocolates, it wasn't necessarily like a snub at her, but he was just stoned, and he was at work, and he was like, they're on sale. They're on sale. Hell, I'll buy one of those.
Well, I mean, I think we've all been there. After Valentine's Day, they clearance all this stuff 80% off or whatever.
You're sitting there eating heart-shaped candy for 2 months.
You buy a big heart-shaped thing full of candy, yeah. And that way you don't feel so bad when you throw out the crappy ones.
No, I like them all.
Strawberry cream.
I like all those weird cordials and stuff like that, those weird chocolates.
Well, I can tell you, when I was a kid, my grandparents used to buy me those chocolate-covered cherries.
Ooh.
Oof. I couldn't eat one of those now to save my life.
Yeah,
man. I think it would just put me in a coma.
Yeah, I'm not. I was never really big on chocolate.
It's got all that goop
fruit.
in it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know it's a real cherry.
No, it's probably like fruit paste.
Fruit paste cherry.
Yeah, it's probably some fruit paste cherry.
All right,
flavored.
guys. Well, next time we will have season 1, episode 6, and
episode 5.
Oh, it's episode 5.
Is it episode 5?
No, it's episode 6.
It is episode 6.
Yeah, it's 6.
It is episode
and
6.
Hank's got an issue.
And Hank does have an issue.
Very personal issue.
Very personal issue.
Well, guys, if you want to know more, you can go to roguemedianetwork.com. And I have been Mike.
And I've been Rusty.
And
Wimitanye.
Wimitanye to you as well.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.